morning, everybody. It's Dave here from Good Morning Gjallarhorn, and we have a special guest on Good Morning Gjallarhorn and Friends. Our friend this morning is Warren Ludford, fantastic writer over at the Daily Norseman. Warren
Hello,
has,
everybody.
yeah, Warren has been writing for years. I don't know if you've seen his stuff. You know we're partnered with the Daily Norseman, but we want to welcome him here today live on the show. Hey, Warren, how's things in beautiful Minnesota?
Oh, not too bad, I guess. Doesn't look like we're going to have a white Christmas, but it's that kind of year.
Whereas
Yeah,
down here in Denver, we're already
yeah,
white. So,
yeah,
but who knows? I haven't looked at the forecast. It could melt by tomorrow, knowing how Denver weather works.
yeah.
But
That's right. You get 2 feet one day and it's gone the next, right?
yep. It's literally, it could be, we could literally get a foot of snow and then it'd be 70 the next 2 days. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have
it's
some
weird.
friends that live in Boulder, and so yeah, I know how that works.
But the mountains have enough
Yeah,
snow. Ski resorts are open. People around here are happy with that. Uh, and they have something weird here that I'd never seen before. On Friday afternoons, traffic gets horrible going to the mountain. And
okay.
it's I've never seen a skiing traffic jam, but that's exactly what they are. So
Wow, yeah.
it happens.
Well, I know. Yep, I know. Even here, like up north, like Lutzen is pretty much the closest thing we have to mountains here, and I know they've been busy too. So
Hmm.
everyone's getting out for the same reason, I guess.
Yeah, they're tired of being cooped up. Need some fresh
Yeah,
air.
yeah, yep, yep.
Um, let's talk Minnesota Vikings.
All right.
You, in the last two pieces you've written, one a couple weeks ago, you wrote about the Vikings defense. Are they
Yep.
improving and are they getting any good? Is my question to you.
Well, I'd say they're improving, but I don't know that they're good yet. But there are some elements that are improving, and I think when from the beginning of the season, it really is kind of a two-part season. It's split by the bye week. And, prior to the bye week, I mean, they were giving up an average of 32 points a game. And after that, it's gotten better. And but not everything is really improved that much. But I think it started with some of the veterans that you expect to play well, Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks. They didn't start out all that well either at the beginning of the season, and now they're getting back to their old form. Of course, Kendricks has been out now, but and then the young guys at cornerback, they've started to improve since the bye week, and probably the biggest improvement has been Cam Dantzler.
Mm-hmm.
And I know he's missed some time too, but and I was wondering how that was going to affect him because being a rookie and not having all the preseason all that to begin with, but he's come on pretty well, and from the stat wise, whether it's passer rating when targeted or, all kind of the PFF stats or whatnot. He's really become one of the better corners since the Vikings bye week. So that's encouraging. Um, the other guy, Jeff
On,
Gladney, go
I
ahead.
got a question on Dantzler real quick.
Yeah.
Um, we know on a Mike Zimmer defense
Hmm.
for corner play, if you go to shadowing a receiver, you have graduated to the next level. Do we see Dantzler anytime the rest of this season put in a position where he'll be shadowing the number one receiver of the other team?
I could see it. I don't know that it's happened so much thus far, but I could see him, getting into that kind of role. Um, Gladney shifts kind of between slot and outside, but in terms of corners, it's pretty clear that in terms of outside corners
Hmm.
anyway, it's pretty clear that Dantzler's the best guy, and so it'd be interesting to see in the Bears game if he shadows Robinson or not,
Hmm.
and he may do so. I know back in the when it was Rhodes and Wayne's, Rhodes was the guy to shadow people, and it could be that Danzler's you know going to see that role at some
Hmm.
point. Although whether or not it happens this year, remains to be seen. But I could see him trying to take on Dancer. But I know the way they've changed things this year to deal with the young corners, I think they've done more cover two safeties, so they've got help over the top, and so that may be a factor in some things. But then when Harrison Smith comes into blitz or whatnot, maybe that's when Dantzler is kind of left by himself. So who knows?
Well, I saw a couple games ago. It was the first game they showed cover two, but they were
Yep,
actually playing more of a cover three, and they had Dantzler man on man. But they lined up as a
yep,
cover two to show the offense. This is what we're playing.
yep,
And that had been the
yep, yep,
first time they had done that. And it was,
yep,
and he did good. I mean, he did exceptionally well. So, and that
yep.
was
I
the game
think
he got his interception.
Yep, yep. And I think as Zimmer sees these guys come along, I think then he's just where he's getting more comfortable with them doing that kind of thing and kind of moving on from where they were earlier in the year, where they were. I remember the first games they were playing. 10-yard cushions, and I mean, they just give up everything underneath,
Yeah, they turned the
and that's
wrong
what
direction,
happened.
and yep.
Yep, yep. And so they've come a long way from then.
Well,
Um,
do you
and
think it's
and
harder for Gladney to step up because he is playing the two positions?
yeah, I think it is because yeah, A, playing the two positions, and B, I think slot corner is just a harder position to learn because you don't have the help of the sideline for one thing. And there's more of a route tree and everything else, and
Hmm.
so I think that's a tougher position, and so it'll be interesting to see, down the road if Gladney becomes the slot corner, or if they always have him kind of be the second outside and then shift to be the slot corner in nickel situations, or what. But it'll probably depend on what happens if Mike Hughes comes back next year and what he's going to do and all that kind of stuff. So
Well, I was about to say,
yeah,
if looking at next year, we very
yeah,
well could see another first round Minnesota selects cornerback from Alabama.
yeah.
You know,
Yep, yep, yep. Who knows? I certainly wouldn't be surprised if it's a defensive player, whether it's a defensive back, and it could be a safety even too. It just
yes,
depends.
and we're
Or
going to need one.
defensive line. Yep, yep, or defensive line. So
Now let's go on the defensive line because this is linemen to me are near and dear to my heart because I grew up playing
sure,
the line.
sure,
Um,
sure.
in that, you talked about sacks and pressures, and sacks aren't necessarily the most important part and aren't necessarily indicative of pressures. You
Right.
want more pressure, right? Sacks are nice. Sacks, the frosting on the cupcake.
Mhm.
It's great, but you want the pressures, the constant pressures. How have that Viking front defensive four, or
Well,
throw in the
yep,
rotation players too, done this
sure,
year when it
sure.
comes to pressures?
Well, and that's kind of the weak point of almost the whole team right now is the pass rush, and you know there really isn't even when Ngakwe was there. I mean, he got some of the sacks, but even his pressure rate. So there's sacks, and then there's you know how many times do you pressure the quarterback per pass rush snap, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And so that gets the pressure rate, and the best guys in the league, the Aaron Donalds and the TJ Watts and whatnot, those guys, their pressure rate's about 10%. And across the line for our guys, basically the best guys are like 5 or 6%, which is pretty middle of the pack. You may maybe top 100 in terms of overall pass rush pressure rates, and so that's going to be a struggle the rest of the year, and that really hasn't improved as the year's gone on
No, you
either.
didn't see
I
the
mean,
separation at the bye week like you did with the
no,
defensive backs.
no, no. The one guy that maybe has some promise going forward is DJ Wanham, and he's missed some time too. But he seems like it's still early on for him, and maybe into next year we could see him improve a little bit more, take another step. But the other guys like Hercules Mataafa and Jalen Holmes and
Or be
Odenabo, those guys,
yeah.
they seem like they've kind of plateaued, and then they've been around long enough where, I'm not sure, that there is a higher ceiling for them or not. We'll see. But, certainly we found out, this year how badly we've missed Daniil Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's been a big thing. I guess the positive side, getting back to the defensive backs for a second, is if next year we actually get some improvement in the pass rush, the secondary has been doing kind of yeoman's work because they've had to cover for a lot longer because there just isn't a pass rush. I mean, you looked last week against Tampa Bay. I mean, Tom Brady, could sit back there the whole time,
Make
and
a
just
sandwich, avocado, and whatever, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
right. As Andre Patterson, the defensive line coach, said before the game, he's like, if we let Tom sit back there in his rocking chair, he's going to eat us alive.
Yeah. Yep. Well,
Yeah,
hopefully next year that will improve. Now we've got a
yeah,
game tomorrow against the Bears, and the last time we played the Bears, obviously a different quarterback for the Bears, but we did increase the rush and the pressure by blitzing a lot. Do you anticipate that happening tomorrow as well?
yeah. I would imagine so. Part of the thing is, you know, the the receivers and the makeup, that the Bears have, and I think they're not so strong a team in that regard where you have to have everybody back and play coverage, and so that's where I could see some of the zone blitzes or having Harrison Smith come back. The other thing is with Trubisky. It's part of it is the quarterback, and I think
Mm-hmm.
Trubisky is one of those guys where if you give him pressure, then he's more liable to make mistakes than a Tom Brady or
Yes,
Aaron Rodgers, those type of guys. So
we'll see. All right,
yeah,
now moving on to that next article I wanted to talk about. You wrote about the playoffs and
right.
updating the scenarios. And you and Flip Mozzie
Mhm.
from the Climb in the Pocket group are heavy into what it needs to happen or what needs to happen for the Vikings to make the playoffs. Can you go over that real quickly?
Sure, sure. So
Hey, Steve.
basically, I mean, the first thing they really need to do is beat the Bears, because if they don't beat the Bears, well, they still are not mathematically eliminated. It's a real long shot.
Mm-hmm.
They basically have to win both their games. I mean, I think the Bears would have to lose both their games, and they play Jacksonville, which they could still lose to Jacksonville and the Packers, and then the Cardinals would have to lose all their games if they lost. So basically, they got to beat the Bears. And assuming they do that, um, then obviously it's great if they could beat the Saints and the Lions. But let's assume for a minute, just go by kind of the outlook for the games. Let's say they lose to the Saints, but they beat the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
Then it comes down to basically the Cardinals, and they would, if the Vikings beat the Bears and the Lions but lose to the Saints, the Cardinals will still need to lose two more games.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whether that's today, or not today, but this weekend against the Eagles. I know they play the Rams the last
Last.
weekend of the.
Hmm.
Yep, and I don't see them beating the Rams, and so I kind of put that as one loss for them. And I'm trying to think of who they play
I agree with
next
you, but
weekend.
that's week
But yeah,
17, and week 17
yep,
always can get squirrely,
yep. I
with
think
teams resting and stuff like that.
yep. I don't think the Rams are going to be in a position where they'd rest.
I
We'll
don't think so
see.
either. I
But
think the
then
1 and 2 seeds are going between the Packers and the
and
dreaded
the
Packers
Saints,
and the
yeah,
Saints
yep,
in our division. So
yep. Right now, the Packers have the number one seed, and so and they play the Bears, and I think that they have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way out. So I don't see them losing that. So we'll see what happens. But um, the main thing for the Vikings playoff chances, though, is if they can at least beat the Bears and the Lions, and the Cardinals lose to the Rams week 17, and either I want to say they play the Eagles and maybe it's the Redskins or the Washington football team, I
right,
should say, um, uh, next week. But
and Washington's been
they're
playing
losing.
well.
Yeah. I know Alex Smith isn't playing this weekend, but if they get him back, that would be that would be I would say a tough game for the Cardinals because Washington has a pretty good defense now, and so
Hmm.
we'll see what happens. I basically my thought is if the Vikings can beat the Bears and the Lions at least, they got about a 50-50 chance of making the playoffs. I think the other thing is I believe the 49ers might have to lose one more game too, but that
Okay,
of the three, and that's not a long shot that they do. I think that's pretty likely to at least lose one more game.
but the
So
easiest way is to win all 3 of our remaining games,
right,
and then
yep,
assume or hope that the Cardinals lose at least one of theirs, and we're there.
yep. So yeah, even if we
That,
do win all three, though, the Cardinals have to lose one
they still
game.
have to lose one.
So
Yep.
yep, because they got the advantage on us right now. So.
Hmm.
But yeah,
So,
if we both finish with the same record, I think in most cases the Vikings have the tiebreaker. I think it's the conference record, either that or the common games. I can't remember which, but
right.
the Vikings have the tiebreaker against them if they finish with the same
Cards play
record.
the 49ers in week 16. Thanks, Steve.
Yep.
Um,
Okay, great. Okay. So yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, the 49ers. That's another thing where they're getting George Kittle back. So this weekend, and so I don't know if they'll get Garoppolo back if they decide to play him or not. It probably depends on what they think their playoff prospects are too. So who knows? But
Kittle over the middle.
yeah,
Oh, that drove me
yeah,
crazy a couple of years ago.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but, anyways,
Right. Well, I'll tell you this with the Vikings just for the whole playoff picture. I mean, after the way the season started, I just kind of think if they make the playoffs, it's just kind of a bonus. I mean, I don't know that they'll necessarily go too far if they make the playoffs, but of
we
the
hope they get
it would
lucky. Yeah.
right. If they the one thing about this year is if you get in, there's not much of a home field advantage, and so being the seventh seed or whatever and playing on the road, that's not the disadvantage it's been in other years. So that's a
Right.
good
Or
thing, and
they could, if they get in and go up to Green Bay and have another 40, 50 mile an hour wind game. And,
that's right. And
that
that could
was
very well
weird.
be in winter. Yep.
Hmm.
And they beat the Packers last time around, so they could still beat them again. They in terms of matchups, they're not too bad because the Vikings can run the ball, and that's kind of the weak spot of the Packer defense.
Hmm.
And so if we end up getting the Packers, beat them, and then maybe get the Saints again, and maybe
Beat them.
we've had good luck. We've had good luck
Oh,
against the
that would
Saints recently, so that's good.
that would warm plenty of Vikings fans' hearts to spoil
Right,
another
right,
Saints season. Yes,
right,
that'd be sweet.
right.
But
So.
well,
So we'll
cool.
see, but that's all kind of gravy the way that I look at it just with this season. But I think things are shaping up well for next year, regardless of whether they make the playoffs this year.
Right. And I think so too.
Yep.
We've had improvement on the defense. The offense is hitting its stride, especially with Justin Jefferson. And
Yeah.
we get Pierce and Hunter back, and things automatically should be looking better for next season. As long as,
Yeah.
we don't go through the craziness of 2020 again, which
Right. Right.
we'll
Right.
see.
Yep. Well, it'll just be nice. All these rookies will have, basically a year under their belt, so that'll be helpful too.
One last question here from Steve. Did he miss
Sure.
the Cousins part?
The Cousins part.
Yes, here is Warren's article last year on Cousins was wondering what his thoughts are from that time when he wrote it and now.
Well, I think, apart from the interceptions he had the first part of the year, Cousins has continued to improve in different ways. I know, before the season started this year, his thing was he was trying to be more of a, quote unquote playmaker,
Uh-huh.
whether that was running or just extending plays and doing that kind of stuff. And he's had a little bit of success with that where, you've seen that a little bit more, I think, in recent games too, where he's been able to run and pick up the first downs, move the sticks a couple times, which that's not something he's been able to do in the past. But perhaps more than that is he seems like he's a little bit more savvy about avoiding the rush, just the little side steps and the this and that, where where you get kind of the eyes in the back of your head or just that sense. He seems like he's been a little bit better in that regard, and that kind of shows up a little bit in some of the stats. He's one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the league. Almost 40% of
Mm-hmm.
the time he's under pressure, but his sack rate is only like 17 or between 17 and 18%. And so, you know, he manages to avoid getting sacked, at least half the time, more than half the time that he's under pressure. And so that's a good thing. And, that's kind of one of the areas where I see he's improved this year. It's interesting. This year's a little different too, because normally he has a really high completion percentage. He's right up there with Drew Brees for the top completion percentage in the league. This year he's down a little bit, maybe 5% or something like that. But I think that's kind of been the trade-off because he's been throwing the ball further down the field this year. And so for a long time, I don't know if it's still the case, he's pretty close, but his yards per attempt was tops in the league most of the
Mm-hmm.
year. I think it's come off of that a little bit, but he's still right there. And, I think that's kind of a good thing, especially with Kubiak's offense, where between the running game and so forth, it's nice to be able to stretch the defense
Mm-hmm.
depth wise, and take those deep shots. And he's, obviously got the receivers to do it. So,
Yeah, or catch the defense up in the box and go over the
yep.
top. Yep.
Yep, that's exactly right. Because they most defenses they start with wanting to stop Dalvin Cook, and so if they're going to load the box, then assuming assuming the offensive line can hold up, then they've got the chance for shots down the field. So,
Well, cool. Hey, I want to thank you for coming on this morning.
oh, my pleasure. Great, thanks for having me.
This is part of Vlogmas, where Vlogmas, we are doing a live show. Climbing the Pocket Network, and partnered with Daily Norseman, is doing a live broadcast every day of the month of December. Today is day 19. We're over halfway. We've got some
Awesome.
good things scheduled for the rest of this week. We have, of course, Good Morning Gjallarhorn in the Raw, which is the best post-game show you're going to find when it's fans talking Vikings football tomorrow about 10, 15 minutes after the game. Then we'll go on a normal schedule. However, because it's a short week and Christmas is coming, we play on Christmas this week. And so
Right.
GMG pregame show will be moved up. And of course, in the Raw, to after we spoil the Saints once again, we'll top off the Christmas day before you get totally satiated with your Christmas meal. So it should be fun. And Always look for Warren's work on Daily Norseman along with the rest of the great writers over there. It's fantastic. You got 2 places to catch all your Vikings news. Climb in the Pocket here online and video and podcasts, and Daily Norseman on the web in print. And you know it's live, and you know it's daily and multiple times a day. Thank you, Christopher Gates. And Warren, I just wanted to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Same to you and your family as well. Thank you.
And for everybody else, have a great week. Stay healthy. Enjoy your food, beer, friends. And as always, go Vikings! Skol!
Skol!
Thank you for watching or listening. As always, if you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate us on your favorite aggregator. Skol, everybody.